some have taken it to an even more bizarre place. You know, you've got the he's MAGA crowd into the who cares, what does it matter crowd. And then you have like a truly bizarre strain of it was loving. He did it out of love. This is not a hater. This is somebody who was, well, I'll let Montel Williams put it in his own words here on CNN last night. Sod 8.
There are people who are trying to pigeonhole this as a leftist thing and a right thing. And what we're really talking about, hear me because I'm going to throw you when I say this. We're talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally. I think this was a emotionally stunted person who literally, when I say it this way, just hear me, tried to defend his significant other, not trying to defend some ideology.
Okay, not for nothing, but the lower third on that whole SOT, which was on CNN, which is Caitlin Collins' network, said docs, and they're referring to the indictment. Docs. Suspect's mom said he had grown pro-gay rights, pro-trans ideology. That's on CNN at an hour that follows Caitlin Collins, but the hour before Caitlin Collins was telling Ted Cruz, we don't know the motive. Why don't you read your lower third? It's literally referring to the indictment documents that federal officials, that state officials used to actually bring charges against him. Try reading. It could help you. And then they platform this Montel Williams, who's lost his mind, trying to make it sound like a beautiful love story, like this guy should be valorized. And I'll let you take that one, and then we'll get to this moron, Matt Gutman, on ABC.
Yeah, I don't think if anybody said that Derek Chauvin was under stress and he was trying to, he had some deranged view that he was protecting his wife from inner city crime, and therefore he put his knee on, everybody would have thought that that's not only absurd, but amoral and sick. And it would have been. Nobody said that. And yet we're supposed to take this guy seriously. And then what he's thinking, it's just fantastic. He's saying that the shooter positioned himself somewhere between 150 and 200 yards away and said to himself, I'm going to shoot only when a trans question comes up, and I can hear it very well. And even if he could hear it on the amplification, he's going to sit there and predicate that. And what would that show if he did do that? That he loved a particular person, or that he was a deranged trans activist in general, as his chat group suggested. So any way you interpret what he said is insane. And I don't know why they put those people on. They're just continual embarrassments. They don't know. They have no logic. They're irrational.
Well, like Victor,
they're angry.
It's just so maddening because he's talking about it like as if Charlie Kirk had gotten up there and said, let's say this guy was in a normal heterosexual relationship, as if Charlie Kirk had been out there saying, blonde women are all loose women and you shouldn't marry them. Something like, and he was with a blonde woman and he was out there to avenge his. Okay, that would be a bizarre set of circumstances, but I guess then you could say, all right, he was trying to stand up for his partner. The whole thing about the partner is political. Charlie had taken a position on the trans, whatever, it's not rights, on the trans indoctrination issue. Charlie had been very clear that a man cannot become a woman. And this guy was with a trans person in the middle of a transition and obviously connected to other trans people, if you believe what we're seeing online. And on top of that, had a thing for furries, as evidenced by his meme, which is very hand in glove with the whole trans community. He wrote about it on his bullet casing. And by the way, he was subscribed, or he was on a furry website, according to the FBI. So that is a political argument that's being hotly debated right now and has been for the past few years in the United States. And Charlie Kirk was very outspoken on it. How does he reduce that to a love quarrel, a defending his love, and totally divorce it from the politics?
Well, he does it because they have a list of excuses. And excuse number one was he was apolitical. That didn't work. Excuse number two, he was a right-wing inter-MAGA feud. narrative. That didn't work. Now they're down to excuse 3, that it was a personal love relationship that showed how trans people are so devoted to him. That didn't work. I think all they're going to be left with is that they're going to have to go, and I think they already have, Megyn, full Luigi Mangione, that he was a heroic person that is an iconic figure and belongs in the pantheon of leftist heroes. And we're going to name an opera after him, and I think that's next. That's the 4th narrative. Because another thing that people don't talk about, and it was true of DeCarlos Williams, there is a general perception in these killers, whether they do it out of racial motivations or ideology, there's 2 assumptions they make. Number 1, if they do it, either people will try to contextualize it or praise it, as we saw with Robinson on the left, and we saw with the mayor of Charlotte. Immediately, she said, don't demonize the homeless. This is not race. Dude can't rest. And they know that there'll always be some excuse or even praise. And second, there will not be consequences. When he went into that rail car, he had 14 times he committed a felony and never really paid a serious price. And he thought he could do almost anything and get away with it. And the same thing, if you look at the cheery attitude, I thought he had to be taken out, lift up the computer, there's the note. He was acting in the same manner that he thought Luigi Mangione was going to get off. And until we just say to ourselves, we don't really care what your motivation is, we don't care what you say, we don't care if you have a beautiful mansion or you're homeless, we don't care if you claim that you're on that, we're just going to treat what you did. And there's going to be sure and swift punishment if you have after your fair trial, and should you be found guilty. And that's going to be deterrent. And you may think that's biblical or ancient or old-fashioned, but there's a 2,500-year history that it works.
Well, you're making a point about consequences to the actions. And when we administer the consequences, no, we shouldn't care. We should look at the end result of what they did. Luigi killed Brian Thompson in cold blood with absolutely no justification. And that's what Tyler Robinson clearly did to Charlie. But it is valuable to know the motive when we try to figure out why did this happen and can we prevent it?
Yes, that was my point. They have 2 things going for them. They have a motive because they think if they act horrifically on some leftist cause that they are going to be famous. They come out of the woodwork because they feel the general climate says people are persecuting trans people should be given exemptions. Joe Biden says half the country is semi-fascist. Fascist everywhere. All of our generals have called the president a fascist, a Nazi. Mark Milley called him a fascist. So you kill a fascist and you'll be sort of like one of the assassins who tried to kill Mussolini and Hitler. You will be praised. That's the motivation. They want to be a famous political activist who really, spoke violence to power or something. And then second, they think I can get away with it. Yeah, they think I can get away with it. Can you
imagine, God forbid anything ever happened to Barack Obama, but can you imagine if some shooter had actually taken a shot at Barack Obama and, God forbid, actually hit him? And we found out it was because he was MAGA and he was deeply offended by the deplorables comment that Hillary had made, or the bitter clingers comment that Barack Obama had made. And so he had turned on Democrats. He thought they were demonizing Republicans. And his wife, maybe this guy, the shooter in this fake scenario, is an independent, but his girlfriend or his wife is diehard MAGA. Do you think Montel Williams would be on CNN saying he did it out of love? It was a loving thing, really. That's what did it. We all know the answer to that. And that brings me to Matt Gutman of ABC.
Just before you, could I just say one thing? He would be banned for life, but we all know the answer to your question. You don't even have to talk about a threat of physical violence. A clown at the Missouri State Fair put on a Barack Obama mask, and he was just sort of like clowns do at rodeos, but it was a mask of Obama. And the administration went ballistic, and they banned him for life for being at that fairgrounds and rodeo. That was just wearing a mask that made fun of Obama. So yeah, we know the answer to that.
They would not be rewriting it as a Romeo and Juliet type story. Oh, it's so sad. Look at the love he felt for his partner. He did it out of love. And not to be outdone, here's Matt Gutman, a a straight news reporter, a national correspondent for ABC News, describing the text messages between the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, and the defendant, and his girlfriend, his boyfriend, who was trying to become his girlfriend, in which he kept calling the lover my love as he was confessing. I mean, he was going through line after line about how I've got to get my gun, don't talk to the police, my love. And this was this ABC News reporter's take on that.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
First of all, he did not say in these text messages, I just want to protect you, my love. That's an invention by this reporter. It didn't happen. Second of all, there's nothing very touching. It's not a very intimate portrait of the duality. And he refers to him, the partner was identified male at birth and now identifies. There's no such thing as identify. He's speaking all the language of the left with their buzz terms and rewriting this as a very touching love story, Victor.
Yeah, well, he said that we didn't expect it. Actually, we did expect it because we've seen a long history of the left doing this. We saw one of the Sarnoff brothers on the cover of Rolling Stone as if he was some photogenic movie star. We saw an opera named after Luigi Mangione. We saw the Taylor Lorenz Gaga interview about him. I think there was somebody on cable news who said, well, Robinson might not be as iconicized as Luigi Mangione because he wasn't as handsome. So there is a idea on the left
crystal ball.
Yes, that they feel that these young killers, they try to romanticize them and try to make them into folk heroes. And part of that narrative is that they're good looking or they're intimate or they're warm or they're sincere. And what he should have said is he was talking to the murderer was talking to his boyfriend and was talking about rationalization why he killed somebody premeditatively, but that's not what he wanted to convey. But we expect that. Every time there's a young shooter who's politically motivated from the left, we know that the left is going to romanticize him and try to make him into a Hollywood rock star or a sensitive therapeutic figure.
They're determined. And now, by the way, today, Matt Gutman was forced to come out and say he deeply regrets that his words did not make clear what he was trying to do, which was to underscore the jarring contrast between this cold-blooded assassination of Charlie and the personal disturbing texts read aloud by the Utah County attorney at the press conference. I'm going to say this to Matt Gutman. Ask yourself, again, whether, God forbid, someone like Barack Obama had been assassinated instead of Charlie Kirk. And we found the assassin's texts confessing to his lover, calling the lover my love. Do you think there's any world in which you would have gone out there and talked about how very touching the texts were, about this duality that gives us a window into their intimate relationship, and used the word touching twice? We all know the answer. This is his own bias. When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.